What if 3I Atlas isn't what we've been told? What if it is not a frozen lump of ice and dust wandering between the stars, but something far more engineered, far more deliberate? Imagine this. At the heart of that glowing green body lies not rock, not ice, but crystal. A massive, gleaming core, faceted like an alien jewel, carved with precision so perfect that no natural force could have shaped it. This is not a comet, it is a machine core built from crystal, and it has traveled light years to reach our star. For months, space agencies have tried to reassure the public. They say it's just another interstellar comet, nothing to worry about, a frozen relic from another system. But behind the press releases, strange details keep leaking. Observatories in Chile, in Hawaii, even amateur astronomers in rural Spain report that 3I Atlas reflects light differently than any comet ever recorded, not scattered and random, but sharp, refracted, like light through glass. When its surface turns toward the sun, telescopes pick up rainbow flares that cannot be explained by dust alone. Some describe it as if the object is glowing from inside, as if its heart is catching sunlight and splitting it into shards of unnatural color. In late August, the Nordic Astronomical Group released a study that was quickly pulled offline, but fragments remain. In it, they noted a repeating crystal signature, a spectral fingerprint consistent with silicate lattices, not loose dust, but ordered material, structured like quartz on an unimaginable scale. Think about that, a comet-sized diamond machine, forged not by geology, but by design. Was it built to last the journey between stars, or was it built to power something far greater? The very idea of a crystal engine is not new. Human engineers already experiment with crystalline storage, with photonic chips and lattice batteries that can hold energy far more efficiently than metals. Now picture a civilization millions of years ahead of us, crafting a reactor the size of a mountain, embedding it inside a vessel disguised as a comet. Such a machine could harvest energy from starlight, trap it, amplify it, and release it on command. The glowing jets we see spewing from Atlas's surface, are they venting gases? Or are they controlled exhaust ports, releasing heat as the core charges itself? This possibility terrifies even the skeptics, because if Atlas is crystalline at its center, then it is not a dead rock. It is a system, a device, a machine still alive after drifting for countless millennia. Its destination may not be random at all. It may have been programmed to seek out stars, to nestle close, and to feed. And now, after millions of years of silence, its path has brought it directly into our solar system, toward the blazing furnace of our sun. People are beginning to whisper, is Atlas awakening? Every night, more and more images show its glow sharpening, its tail lengthening, its light scattering in colors that remind some of stained glass in ancient cathedrals. Beauty and dread fused in one vision. This isn't the face of a comet. It's the eye of something alive, something built, something waiting. And if the crystal inside it has slept for eons, then perhaps, as it draws closer to our star, we are about to see it awaken for the first time in human history. This is the hook, the question hanging over all of us. 3I Atlas is no ordinary traveler. It carries within it a crystal heart, an alien engine, and its arrival may signal not just a visitor from the stars, but the ignition of a power we cannot hope to control. When astronomers first turned their spectrographs toward 3I Atlas, they expected the familiar fingerprints of ice, dust, and volatile gases. That is what every comet gives us: water vapor, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, methane, simple elements and compounds that whisper of frozen beginnings. But Atlas betrayed a different story. Its light did not scatter randomly. Instead, it fractured, it refracted, as though passing through something far more ordered than dust. In wavelengths where ordinary comets show a chaotic fog, Atlas displayed sharp peaks, repeating signatures. The Nordic Astronomical Group, before their findings were mysteriously removed, reported that Atlas emitted a distinctive pattern in the near-infrared band. Jagged lines that matched the crystalline lattice of quartz and silicates, not loose fragments, but structured arrays. To put this in perspective, it was as if the entire body of the comet was built from engineered crystal, as though light itself were bending through a prism on a colossal scale. This is not the fingerprint of chaos. It is the signature of design. Even stranger, the spectral anomalies are not static. Each week, the readings evolve. Amateur astronomers have noticed a pulsation in the brightness of Atlas, as if it is breathing in light and releasing it in rhythms. A student team in Argentina charted these pulses and found them repeating every 47 minutes, too consistent to be chance. When slowed down and converted to audio, the pattern resembles a mechanical hum, like the droning of a distant engine. What kind of natural comet hums? None we have ever known. One striking observation came from Dr. Helena Moreau of the Lion Observatory. She claimed that during one night of unusually clear skies, her team captured polarized light scattered by the comet. What they discovered resembled interference patterns, the kind you would expect not from ice crystals, but from finely structured layers stacked with deliberate geometry. She compared it to looking at the light diffraction of stained glass windows, except on a scale spanning kilometers. Days later, her report was deleted from the university's site, and Moreau herself declined to comment in interviews. The color shifts have also raised alarms. Normally, comets glow blue or green from ionized gases, but Atlas displays abrupt flashes of deep violet and crimson, colors rare in cometary tales. Spectral analysts argue that such hues require organized crystalline surfaces, reflecting and refracting sunlight with uncanny precision. If true, it would mean Atlas is not a messy pile of rubble, but a polished construct, something carved or grown into a machine. Some experts quietly admit that they have no natural explanation. Others dismiss it as observational error, claiming instruments are confused by the comet's unusual chemistry. Yet how many times can errors repeat across different continents with different telescopes in different conditions? How many voices must be silenced before the truth becomes unavoidable? The evidence points toward order, toward symmetry, toward a crystalline heart inside 3I Atlas. And if this is correct, then the implications are staggering. We are not simply watching a rock drift past our sun. We are witnessing a prism the size of a mountain, reflecting and bending light in ways our machines cannot. We are seeing an object that may be harvesting or processing radiation, storing it inside its crystalline core. Each spectral line is a clue, each color shift a message, each pulse of light a reminder that Atlas may not be silent at all, but singing in frequencies we barely understand. This is why many now believe Atlas is no comet, but a crystal engine, a mechanism hiding in plain sight, preparing itself as it draws nearer to our star. If it is truly crystalline, then the light we see tonight is not random reflection. It is proof that something inside is alive, organized, and perhaps waiting to be switched on. Humanity has always turned to crystals as symbols of power, clarity, and energy. From ancient amulets carved to capture sunlight, to modern lasers and microchips that rely on crystalline lattices. The story of technology is in many ways the story of ordered minerals. But what if another civilization mastered this path millions of years ago, carrying it to an extreme we cannot imagine? What if they built not chips the size of fingernails, but reactors the size of mountains, embedding them inside star-drifting bodies like 3I Atlas? The concept may sound like science fiction, but even our primitive science hints at the possibility. Crystals are natural organizers of energy. Their atomic structures allow vibrations, phonons, light waves, electrons, to move in stable, predictable ways. Engineers already use quartz to keep time, lithium niobate to guide light, silicon lattices to run the digital world. These are toys compared to what might be possible with vast, crystalline engines. Imagine a lattice kilometers deep, designed not to hold a watch's tick, but to resonate with the raw breath of a star. Speculative physicists have long theorized about crystal batteries, structures that can trap photons and release them slowly, like cosmic capacitors. Scale that concept up, and you could have reactors capable of feeding entire civilizations. The ordered geometry of a crystal is perfect for channeling energy, storing it, amplifying it. Now picture 3I Atlas as a vessel designed to wander between suns, plugging itself into their light like a parasite, drinking in radiation until the core is saturated. Then, perhaps, it drifts onward, carrying that power like a seed, waiting to ignite somewhere else. This could explain why Atlas appears to glow from within, why its light pulses in regular intervals, why its spectrum resembles the fingerprint of engineered lattices. It is not just reflecting the sun, it is feeding on it, locking the energy inside crystalline veins that no human hand could ever cut. Every refracted beam of violet and crimson we see in the night sky could be the shimmer of a machine core charging itself. A more radical theory suggests that these crystals do more than store energy. They may transform it. On Earth, researchers experiment with photonic crystals that bend light into exotic pathways, creating effects like invisibility cloaks or enhanced lasers. If Atlas carries a reactor built on this principle, it might be able to manipulate stellar energy in ways that are indistinguishable from magic. A beam strong enough to sterilize planets, a burst of radiation tuned to rewrite atmospheres, or perhaps something gentler, a signal sent across interstellar distances, amplified by the sun itself. Consider this: if a civilization wanted to spread across the galaxy, they would not send fragile ships of metal and fuel. They need send machines that can feed themselves, survive for millions of years, and awaken only when they find a new star. Crystalline cores would be the perfect engines for such vessels, durable, self-sustaining, capable of carrying memory and power together. In this light, 3I Atlas may not be a weapon, but a colonizer, a seed of alien technology designed to awaken when it reaches fertile ground. And the most fertile ground of all is a living star. Skeptics call these ideas fantasy, but they cannot explain the patterns in the data. Why does Atlas refract light like a prism? Why does its brightness pulse with mechanical rhythm? Why do spectral fingerprints repeat with crystalline precision instead of chaotic randomness? Nature loves disorder. Machines love order, and Atlas, by every sign, is ordered. If we accept this possibility, then the truth is staggering. 3I Atlas may be the first alien machine humanity has ever witnessed. Not metal and wires, but crystal and light. A reactor core traveling through the void, waiting to recharge. We stare at it through telescopes and call it a comet. But to those who built it, long ago in some forgotten system, it may have been nothing less than a star drinker, a crystalline engine meant to sip the fires of suns and carry that power onward. And now it is here, approaching our star. What happens when its core awakens fully? Will it simply drink and drift on, leaving us in shadow? Or will we find ourselves caught in the ignition of a technology older than our species, a lattice of alien light pulsing to life on our doorstep? Not long after the first whispers of crystalline anomalies began circulating, a new rumor emerged, one far more unsettling than colorful light signatures. Several independent probes, small robotic telescopes operated by private companies and even universities, reportedly captured data that pointed to impossible order within 3I Atlas. Unlike the ragged chaos of every comet we have ever measured, this one seemed to conceal something eerily symmetrical. The story began with the Horizon CubeSat program, a fleet of miniature spacecraft launched by a European research collective. According to an anonymous technician who later posted on encrypted boards, one of these tiny probes scanned 3I Atlas as it entered the outer solar system. The readings were so bizarre, the software flagged them as corrupted. Instead of irregular mass distribution, the probe detected repeating density waves, equidistant, like the ribs of a giant structure beneath the comet's crust. The technician described it as a cathedral of geometry wrapped in ice. The report vanished from official logs within days, but screenshots of the raw data still float through online forums. Soon after, an amateur deep space observer in Canada claimed that radar echoes from Atlas returned with mirrored harmonics. In natural objects, echoes scatter in noise. Here, the signals came back with uncanny precision, as though bouncing off planes angled with intention. The harmonics repeated in threes, suggesting triangular formations hidden beneath the dust. Was it chance? The odds, mathematicians whispered, were lower than winning the lottery 10 times in a row. The rumors only escalated when whispers from the Japanese Shinkai Observatory surfaced. A supposed leak suggested their long-range instruments detected internal layering with exact proportions, ratios matching those found in crystalline lattice models. A perfect symmetry not found in random cosmic debris. Some went further, claiming that under certain scans, the internal shapes resembled hexagonal corridors, as if hollowed by design. Of course, the observatory released a public denial within hours, calling such stories distortions. But the speed and intensity of the denial only fed the flames. More dramatic were the alleged images. Grainy, blurred, almost impossible to authenticate, but compelling nonetheless. Dark bands circling the comet's silhouette, glowing faintly like ribs catching sunlight. One viral video on TikTok zoomed into these bands, overlaying hexagon diagrams, and whispered, "Engines, chambers, symmetry." It garnered millions of views in a week. Scientists dismissed it as overprocessed artifacts, but the public didn't care. They saw design where design was denied, and the idea of symmetry carries weight. Nature makes beauty, but seldom perfection. Snowflakes, crystals, flowers, tiny examples, but always fleeting, fragile. Yet here was a body the size of a mountain, showing hints of mathematical order. Patterns too vast to be accidental. Structures too precise to be natural. If even one of the leaks is true, then Atlas is not a comet, but a construct, a machine wrapped in stone, an alien artifact veiled in ice. What could such symmetry mean? Engineers argue that repeating density waves could stabilize a reactor core, prevent collapse under stellar pressure. Architects whisper that such designs are hallmarks of ancient megastructures. Mystics claim it proves Atlas is alive, a crystalline organism engineered to replicate itself across galaxies. Whatever the explanation, the whispers of symmetry inside Atlas have transformed speculation into fear. If machines sleep within, then they are sleeping with purpose. And as Atlas spirals closer to our sun, one question echoes through both science and society. Are we about to witness the awakening of a hidden architecture, a perfect geometry stirring after millions of years in the dark? The rumors of symmetry inside 3I Atlas might have stayed confined to fringe forums and blurry telescope images, if not for what came next. In mid-September, a shadowy group of hackers calling themselves the Glass Keys released what they claimed to be leaked documents from a classified European Space Agency archive. The files were crude, partially corrupted, and stamped with distorted watermarks, but one thing was clear. They contained what looked like technical diagrams. Not diagrams of a comet, but of a machine. According to the leak, these documents outlined internal cross-sections of Atlas, displaying a repeating lattice network deep beneath the surface. The illustrations resembled crystalline schematics, hexagonal nodes connected by straight lines, forming what looked uncannily like a reactor grid. One of the most shared images showed a massive central prism, surrounded by concentric rings of geometric structures, labeled phase core. Viewers compared it to a blueprint of an engine, except this one was hundreds of kilometers across. Skeptics immediately called the files elaborate hoaxes. Some pointed out that the symbols and annotations were inconsistent with ESA formatting. Others argued that the blueprints looked too cinematic, designed to go viral rather than to serve engineers. Yet the timing of the leak, coinciding with escalating spectral anomalies, convinced many that at least part of it had a kernel of truth. The public doesn't need perfect authenticity, it needs mystery, and the mystery was irresistible. One detail from the files caught particular attention. In several diagrams, lines were annotated with the phrase resonant conduits. While no one knows what that means, fringe physicists speculated it referred to pathways designed to channel energy through the crystal lattice, amplifying it in ways that defy our current physics. Imagine a planetary-sized crystal, not inert, but wired like a battery, each facet tuned to absorb radiation, each conduit designed to store or release it with surgical precision. If such a system is real, Atlas would not just be a machine, it would be a cosmic-scale power plant. The Glass Keys claimed they discovered these files by penetrating a hidden server labeled Spectral Archive B. In their manifesto, they alleged that governments and space agencies already know Atlas isn't natural and are preparing contingency plans in secret. They call it an artifact, one hacker wrote, and they are waiting for the core to wake up. Within hours, their accounts disappeared, suspended or scrubbed from the internet, fueling even more speculation. Who silenced them? Authorities? Or something else? The leak also included fragments of coded text that many interpreted as coordinates. When mapped, the coordinates lined up not with Atlas's current position, but with its future trajectory, exactly where it will pass closest to the sun. The implication was chilling. The crystal lattice isn't passive, it is aimed. It is preparing for activation at perihelion, when the sunlight will be strongest. One decrypted file even contained a phrase repeated 3 times, ignition threshold. On YouTube and TikTok, videos of the blueprints exploded in popularity. Creators overlaid the lattice diagrams onto glowing renders of the comet, adding ominous music and captions like, "The universe's engine," and proof of alien core. Others dissected every line of the schematics, claiming to find references to frequency bands, particle funnels, even control nodes. Whether true or invented, each interpretation fueled the fire. The internet had its smoking gun. Atlas wasn't a rock, it was an alien device, and its heart was crystalline technology, designed for power beyond imagination. And yet, the most unsettling part of the hacker leak wasn't the diagrams. It was a single, grainy image buried deep in the files, what looked like a crystalline structure glowing faintly from within, light scattering in rainbow shards, as if photographed in darkness by a hidden probe. The authenticity is impossible to prove, but once you've seen it, you cannot forget it. A machine made of light, sleeping inside a comet, drifting toward our sun. Whether the files are authentic or fabricated, one truth remains. Belief in the crystal engine has become unstoppable. And with each passing day, as Atlas draws closer to the sun, the question grows louder. What happens when that lattice reaches its ignition threshold? When the so-called blueprints of Atlas's crystalline core began spreading online, the reaction was instantaneous. The world did not respond with calm debate, but with firestorms of opinion, panic, and fascination. On Reddit, one thread racked up hundreds of thousands of comments within days, with users split into 2 camps. Those calling Atlas the universe's engine, and those insisting it was a ticking time bomb drifting toward our star. Memes flooded TikTok. One viral clip showed a hand pouring gasoline into a car, overlaid with the caption, "Atlas, filling up on sun fuel RN." Another dramatized the comet as a giant crystal heart, animated to beat faster as it neared the sun. Yet behind the humor lurked genuine fear. A survey in Europe found that nearly 30% of young adults believed Atlas might actually be artificial. Hashtags like Crystal Core and Sundrinker dominated feeds, with millions of views per hour. Religious groups reacted differently. In Brazil, a televangelist declared that Atlas was the lantern of revelation, the lamp that will darken the earth when lit. Meanwhile, a Buddhist monastery in Nepal released a statement describing the comet as the wheel of illumination, carrying memory from other worlds. Each interpretation spread, reinforcing the belief that Atlas was more than a comet. It was a symbol. Markets reflected the chaos. Solar energy stocks whiplashed as rumors claimed Atlas could steal sunlight. Candle companies, oddly enough, reported surges in sales across Europe and North America. Tech billionaires began posting cryptic comments online. Harnessing light is the oldest dream. Was this trolling, or a sign that powerful elites were preparing for something we aren't being told? Conspiracy theorists latched onto every phrase, building entire live streams around decoding celebrity tweets. Forums dedicated to astrophysics fractured. In one corner, amateur scientists constructed elaborate 3D models of how a crystalline reactor could absorb stellar energy. In another, skeptics mocked them, pointing out that comets are fragile, not indestructible machines. But the skeptics were drowned out. Every time someone said, "It's just ice and dust," 10 more posts replied, "Then why does it refract light like a prism?" Or "Explain the rhythmic pulses." In the public eye, denial became proof of conspiracy. Panic groups also formed. On encrypted chat platforms, users traded prepper guides, how to build makeshift reflectors, how to stockpile energy, how to prepare for a sun outage. Others spoke of leaving the cities before October, convinced Atlas would trigger a global blackout. These digital communities swelled overnight, reinforcing paranoia until fear felt like fact. And then came the protests. In Berlin, crowds gathered under banners reading, "Don't wake the core," demanding transparency from the European Space Agency. In Washington, demonstrators claimed NASA was hiding ignition protocols. In Tokyo, activists staged a candlelight vigil, symbolizing what life might look like if daylight was stolen from humanity. The events were live-streamed, viewed by millions worldwide. At the same time, fascination grew. Artists, musicians, and filmmakers began treating Atlas as a muse. Paintings of a glowing crystal heart, symphonies inspired by its alleged hum, documentaries with ominous narration. All of these made the comet feel less like science and more like legend. For some, it was already the most important symbol of the 21st century. Whether or not the crystal core was real, in every corner of the internet, one phrase kept appearing: engine or bomb. To some, Atlas represented limitless power, a cosmic generator drifting into our reach. To others, it was an alien warhead waiting to destabilize our sun. That duality became the obsession. Every post, every meme, every whisper asked the same question: are we about to inherit a gift from the stars, or watch the ignition of the universe's deadliest device? The truth didn't matter anymore. Belief had taken over. 3i Atlas was no longer just an astronomical object. It had become a mirror of humanity's greatest hopes and deepest fears, a cosmic Rorschach blot where people projected salvation or apocalypse. And as the crystal body crept closer to the sun, society itself seemed to split along the fracture lines of that shining alien lattice. Behind the memes, the protests, and the viral fascination, a quieter, colder conversation has begun to emerge within the scientific community. And what little has escaped into public view is enough to chill even the most hardened skeptic. Anonymous insiders, people claiming to work at major observatories and space agencies, are warning of a scenario so catastrophic that even speaking about it seems like heresy. If 3I Atlas truly contains a crystal reactor, its very presence near the sun could destabilize our star. The theory goes like this. A crystal lattice on the scale suggested by the alleged leaks would not just store energy, it would resonate with it. Crystals have natural frequencies, resonant points where they amplify vibrations. On Earth, we use this to make watches keep perfect time, to tune lasers, to stabilize circuits. But scale this up, and a stellar-sized crystal engine could begin to sing with the sun itself. Instead of harvesting a little energy, it could amplify waves in the solar plasma, disrupting the natural balance. If the resonance built high enough, the sun could release unexpected flares or, in the darkest predictions, collapse local regions of its corona. A supposed leak from the Madrid Solar Research Center suggested that sensitive instruments had already detected microquakes in the sun's oscillation, ripples too small to concern the public, but too regular to ignore. Normally, the sun hums with natural vibrations. Helioseismology is a whole science built around listening to these internal rhythms. But now, some scientists whisper that those rhythms have begun to shift, as if responding to an external stimulus. One researcher, speaking under the pseudonym Vega, wrote, "It's like the sun is being played like a tuning fork. Something is striking it, and the sound is changing." Even more terrifying are the simulations quietly circulating among high-level astrophysics group. According to alleged leaks, computer models show that if Atlas's crystalline reactor aligns with the sun's magnetic field, it could trigger resonance cascades, chain reactions amplifying the sun's natural oscillations. The outcome? Potentially massive solar flares, storms powerful enough to cripple satellites, wipe out power grids, and blind entire hemispheres. In the worst-case scenario, some whisper about the possibility of a stellar quench, a temporary dimming of the sun itself, as energy is siphoned faster than it can radiate. Of course, official voices deny all of this. Press releases continue to call Atlas an icy fragment, a natural curiosity, a harmless visitor. But behind the curtain, insiders claim that emergency meetings are being held. Contingency protocols for low irradiance scenarios have allegedly been drafted in Brussels, Washington, and Tokyo. What would such protocols entail? Stockpiling energy? Shielding power plants? Preparing society for days or weeks of weakened sunlight? No one knows, and no one is admitting. Still, the fear bleeds through in strange ways. Several solar observatories around the world have gone unexpectedly offline in the past month, citing maintenance. One viral theory insists these shutdowns are not accidental, but coordinated, part of an effort to conceal data showing that the sun is already being affected. And then there are the rumors that certain powerful individuals are commissioning underground facilities, bunkers equipped with artificial light systems, as if preparing for a world where daylight can no longer be trusted. For the scientific community, the greatest fear is not even immediate collapse. It is ignorance. If Atlas truly houses a crystal reactor, we don't know how it functions, what its thresholds are, or what its builders intended. Is it designed to gently sip energy, leaving stars unharmed? Or is it a predator, tuned to consume until its host falters? Humanity has no frame of reference. We are watching the approach of a device that could manipulate stellar energy, and all we have are fragments of data and the rising pulse of fear. One chilling phrase has begun circulating in encrypted discussions among researchers: resonant catastrophe. The idea that Atlas could tip the sun into instability, not by brute force, but by playing it like an instrument until harmony breaks into chaos. And if that happens, Earth will not be a bystander. It will be a casualty. So as Atlas inches closer, the scientists themselves, those who know the most, seem to be the ones growing the most silent. And perhaps that silence is the loudest warning of all. The countdown has begun. Every orbital calculation, every projection, every simulation now points to the same inevitable moment. The perihelion of 3I Atlas, the instant when this interstellar intruder will swing closest to the sun. For centuries, humanity has watched comets pass harmlessly, burning bright and fading into history. But this time feels different. This time, people are not asking if something will happen, but what will awaken when the crystal heart of Atlas faces the full fury of our star. Across observatories, scientists watch the data streams with clenched jaws, knowing that if the theories are true, we are standing on the edge of the most dangerous experiment ever conducted, not by humanity, but by something alien. If Atlas is truly a crystalline reactor, its ignition point could arrive as it absorbs the sun's maximum radiation. Will it flare like a beacon? Will it siphon solar plasma through invisible conduits, or will it remain silent, biding its time until the perfect alignment? No one knows, and that uncertainty has paralyzed the world. Governments urge calm, releasing sterile bulletins that say, there is no danger, there is no anomaly, there is no reason to fear. Yet their actions betray them. Military satellites shift position, international space stations quietly suspend experiments, and deep space probes suddenly go silent, as if ordered to. Underground, in encrypted channels, rumors whisper of private briefings where the phrase "event horizon" is spoken. It is not just the public that fears ignition, it is the people with access to the data. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens prepare in their own ways. Families in Mexico City gather at dawn to watch the sunrise as if it might be their last. In Moscow, candles are lit in churches, prayers murmured for light to endure. In Los Angeles, artists paint murals of a crystal comet entwined with the sun, a glowing heart feeding on fire. The world waits, not in unity, but in shared uncertainty. For once, the fate of everyone feels tethered to a single question. What happens when crystal meets star? Online, the speculation grows darker. Some argue that Atlas is a seed, and the sun will become its soil. Others whisper of a detonation, a stellar wound that will dim the skies. A few optimists insist it could be a gift, that ignition will unleash knowledge or energy humanity could harvest. But even the dreamers tremble when they admit, we don't control this story, we are merely witnesses. And so the night sky has become a stage. Every evening, telescopes point upward, eyes glued to the streak of light, inching closer, brighter, more alive. Commentators speak of breathing light, as if the comet itself is preparing, shivering in anticipation of the moment it finally connects. The silence before the storm, the breath before the leap. Soon, perhaps within weeks, Atlas will reach its closest point. Soon, its crystal lattice, if the leaks, the rumors, the data are true, will face the sun's fire unshielded. And in that moment, the world will discover whether it is simply ice and dust, or a machine core waiting to ignite. When Atlas reaches the sun, the truth will not be hidden behind denials or blurred images. The crystal will either remain dormant or awaken. And if it awakens, humanity's place in the universe may change forever. The question is not whether we are ready, it is whether we will survive the light that follows.